Hello, my new friends at the Columbine Spiritual Center. My name is Reverend Kathy Beasley, and I bring you love and greetings from the Central Florida Center for Spiritual Living that's located here in the beautiful Orlando, Florida metropolitan area. I want to thank personally Reverend Suzanne McQueen for reaching out to me, and she and I have been in conversation for a while about scheduling some time for us to spend together, even in this virtual format. And during our exchanges, one of the things that she shared with me was that your annual theme for this year is break wide open. Not just break or not just be open, but break wide open. That was truly a feeling that I could feel at the very depths of my being. Because when something breaks wide open, it's easy to get distracted by the sense of brokenness that's in place. But I want to invite you into what the breaking reveals and gives us a chance to do something with. And I believe that when we, as spiritual beings, we have a chance to truly break wide open, that it invites an element or a power, if you will, that as adults that we don't always rely on or get to use. It is the power of imagination. And I think this idea, if I had to narrow this down to a talk title, I would say that imagination brings possibilities to life. The power of imagination may be an unconventional spiritual sense of a spiritual practice, but it's still a pretty important one. When I think of imagination, my mind travels back to my second grade art class with Miss Curry. And I heard the word imagination for the very first time. I remember what it felt like. Imagination. It felt real to me. It felt like something that I could step inside of and be safe and be warm and be loved. She invited us to close our eyes and to open our mind. And it taught me in that moment that when I close my eyes and I open my mind, I get a chance to take hold of whatever it is in me that needs my love and attention in that moment. So, putting my imagination to work was the beginning of a lifelong journey of great discovery and also of quiet escape. As a reminder in my daily life to be open to moments in the midst and in the company and use of my imagination, I always keep some crayons handy because crayons remind me of the creative power that lives within each of us. And sometimes we have to break wide open to find that, to remember that. When we look at the word remember, the prefix of that re means again, and to be together again. You see, when we break wide open and we begin to utilize our imagination to bridge the gap in the breaking, it creates a world of possibility, of hope, and even wholeness. Like I said, it's easy to be enamored by something broken, but my mom used to say that even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I have come a long way from knowing the use of a blanket and pillow fort and lawn chairs and refrigerator boxes as a castle and declaring the playground slide as this mountain that somehow I needed to ascend and conquer, to standing in a spiritual space with fellow travelers on this road. And I come to know that as I have grown older and I continue to grow, that my imagination is the locus of my sense of self. And it is the thing that urges me to step forward. I attribute my ability to overcome some of the most challenging moments and situations in my life to the power of imagination as an unfolding principle in my life. Imagination is something that says to me often, come here. I got something that I want to show you. And so this morning, I want to say to your soul, come here. There's something I think we need to explore. When we consider in the space of being wide open, it means that we are available. We are available to the goodness to flow from within, but also the goodness that is surrounding us to flow into. I look at the imagination today as an invitation because I believe that imagination, it is spiritual, it's creative, it's generative, and it belongs to each and every one of us individually. And it is the product of our imagination that we bring into the collective gathering. And so when I think about this, I go, imagination is really the doorway to dreams for me. I recognize that we stand at the doorway, a doorway of more, a doorway of love, a doorway of radical welcome. And for me, it has been a vehicle of this creative momentum to explore, not just to know, but to go see, to go feel, to go and to be. And I think it must have taken a lifetime for me to learn that imagination was never my escape from something, but it was my invitation into something. It is my invitation into the isness and the allness of the divine. There's so many ways to put this power to work in our lives, but perhaps an unconventional use of this is as a spiritual practice. So what I do is I take 30 minutes a day. Sometimes it's all at one time, but I break it up across my day. And just like I take time to pray, I take time to read, I take time to connect with humanity, I take time to consider the possibility of that which is not yet. And so I work that time into my life because it's important to me. So it has become important to me over the past year and some months to rediscover my imagination and allow it to be active in my life, in my home, and in my ministry, and in my call to serve. You see, I am one who calls for things to be broken wide open because when we choose, and I do mean choose, to be open, it means that we are available, that we are here for a cause that is greater than ourselves. And I used to think that our ability and our willingness to imagine was something for just the young. But I believe that the joy of it belongs to both the sage and to the young. Some might say that perhaps imagining is a lot of work. And I would agree on some days. It is the sketch pad of a concise strategy. It's the canvas for the visionary and the magnum opus for the compassionate aficionado in this life. Because within the activity of that which we imagine is the opportunity to examine up close that which we presumed to be impossible. Our imagination and our use and our leaning into it, it gives us the ability to invite yet another consideration. I invite you to find tools among your everyday possessions that remind you to step into the energy of imagination. As I said, my tools are typically crayons, but in the last year and a half, it has become acrylic paint, colored string, blocks, rocks, and stacks of brightly colored note cards. I know sometimes when people enter my office for the very first time, they can't quite tell what I do for a living. And the truth is, some days I'm not real sure. Yet I still make myself at home. So when we look at not just the things that we break wide open, or not just our feelings about being broken wide open, I understand this idea of being broken open as not something that we aspire to, but something that happens naturally. And once we have an awareness of it, we take on the role of the observer, observing the observer, observing the observer, observing the observer who gets to let it all go. So when you are broken open, when that force external of you or that force that is within you has created a moment of light, a moment of love, that is a place where we are truly at our best in this life. And we get to use our imagination as an invitation to invite people into the possibility that we perceive, into that which is whispered to our soul. We get a chance to say, come and find your way to truth, your discovery of your own capital T truth. And we get to use imagination as a lens to bring it all into view. None of our prescriptions for that lens are the same, but the intention of seeing ourselves and the world around us, including one another, is more. And to bear witness to that breaking, because anytime something breaks, it starts with a small rupture, a small crack. And I believe it was Leonard Cohen who said that there is a crack in everything because that's how the light gets in. We stand at that moment of creativity, that moment of genesis and new beginning. We get to do that in the same space that perhaps has held us captive, that held us back, that's held on to us, and we get a chance to declare our freedom of moving into our truth, moving into more of who we are called to be. So, however it is that you feel yourself breaking open, feel the feelings, be with it, bear witness to the breaking open of those around you, lift up those stories that support you, that bring light, that serve as bread for your journey. Break out your crayons, doodle on your stack of brightly colored note cards, write down the truth that is coming into being in your broken open selves. Because even in that moment of being broken, we are still valuable because we have been called to open up, to allow others in, to let the light in and the love out, to make room for the truth that has always been unfolding in each and every one of us. We get a chance to be wisdom keepers moving into a space of wisdom sharers. It's not enough to know. It is enough to know more because I know your story. You know my story. It is enough to know that I see you and I too am seen. So as you break open your world, beloved, brace yourself for the love. Invite the possibility and let your imagination point you to a new way that only you can trod, a new peace that only you can know, and a new thing that only you can do. I am in love with the passage from Scripture that says, I will do a new thing in you. When we are broken open, it is the divine doing a new thing in each and every one of us, a new thing that's real, a new thing that is true. So, beloved, allow your imagination to be invitation, allow it to be possibility, allow it to be all that you need it to be. Allow it to be your second chance, your second wind. Allow it to be you, wholly and wholly you. Know that as you are breaking open, that all the way from Florida, know that I love you. And I am honored and blessed to be a part of your journey. I want to leave you with this quote, something I wrote many years ago that says, it is only the imagination that can change the heart of humanity and lift the soul of the world beyond its many attachments. Our capacity to embrace possibility is linked to our ability to imagine something other than what it was before. Sometimes our journeys of life take us back to places that we have long since departed. And other times it takes us closer to moments and ideas that were perhaps never fully realized. Some would call this a second chance. I call it a deep breath that allows me to take a second wind. I tell you all of this that you may find the will and the way to live in the vision that is breaking open right before you. I've gladly traded my blanket fort for a team meeting, my lawn chair for the peace of good company, and my playground mountain for just an opportunity to be in the company of destiny. I trust this affirmation that I am always in the presence of possibility, brought to life as a courtesy of my imagination. So, beloved, break open with love, break open with peace, break open in a way that it brings new possibility to life. Know that I love you, and there is not one single thing that you can do about that. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
Yeah, we thank Reverend Kathy Beasley for that beautiful message, for that great reminder. And I want to invite us into a time of meditation now. So get yourselves comfortable. In Unity, we teach that our power of imagination is our ability to vision, to see, to create. And so we tap into that power of imagination that is within us. To see a world that works for all. To do our part. To listen to the soul when it says, come here. There's something I want to show you. In the book of Proverbs, it says, without a vision, the people will perish. Metaphysically, people represent our thoughts. Without a vision, those good thoughts, those thoughts that want to be creative, those thoughts that want to do good, those thoughts that want to help, to serve, to bring joy, to live abundantly, need a vision so they don't perish. So what thoughts in us, in your consciousness, are longing to attach to a vision of goodness, to a vision of abundance, to a vision of joy, to a vision of life and vibrancy. See that vision in your mind. Create that life step by step in your mind before taking the steps in the outside world. I invite you to hold this vision, whatever your vision is, that spirit longing to come forth, to express more of you. Allow that vision to be creative, to imagine the possibilities, all possibilities. And then when your soul says, come here, I have something I want to show you, be open. Allow it. Create it. Envision it and imagine it. And I invite you to hold these thoughts, these questions in your mind as we rest together in the silence.